started. So today is pretty much a crash course in myofunctional therapy. So I am a myofunctional therapist and I teach classes on this stuff. I see patients. I have a pretty busy practice. So I am here to explain, like myofunctional therapy 101 to you guys. And hopefully that helps you in your practice and helps you understand the things that I look for in my patients. So let's just get started. So what we'll be covering today is basically an overview of the therapy. I'll be talking about tongue ties, tongue thrusts, mouth breathing, and all of these symptoms and how they're connected to the airway and sleep apnea. So I want you guys to be able to know how to identify these symptoms in your patients. So next, people usually want to know who I am. So I'm a hygienist. That's my background. I went to Eastern, and I'm from the Seattle area. And I started my practice in myofunctional therapy back in 2010. And when I started, I used to see people in my office in West Seattle. I had a second satellite office in Redmond, and it was going great. But I had so many people contacting me from other states and other countries and other cities that didn't want to drive to Seattle. So I decided in 2014 to take my practice online. It was actually almost 2015 at that point. But I also have kind of a second part of my business called Myo Mentor. And this is basically teaching and training other hygienists and dentists in myofunctional therapy. But really, I think it's important for people to know, especially my patients, that it's my personal journey that got me to where I am now. So I discovered while I was getting trained in myofunctional therapy that I had all of these issues. So I had a tongue thrust. I was breathing through my mouth. I had the narrow palate and all of the problems that are associated with myofunctional issues, like I'll be talking about later. So all right, so first of all, I think we have to clear this up. It's confusing, the terminology around this field. So you're gonna see three terms if you're Googling or researching this stuff. So myofunctional therapy, orofacial myology, and tongue thrust therapy all mean the same thing. So it's basically like physical therapy. If you can envision what physical therapy is, you will understand how myofunctional therapy works. So basically, I teach people exercises, and they're pretty simple exercises. So the exercises really revolve around the tongue more than anything else. So there's really two things that can go wrong with someone's tongue. And this is like putting it in very simple terms, but you can have a tongue tie, which is a physical problem. You're born with a tongue tie, and tongue ties usually require a surgery called a frenectomy that you guys have probably heard of before. A tongue thrust is a habit. It's a learned swallowing pattern that usually comes from mouth breathing. So a tongue thrust is purely has to do with the muscles and improper muscle functioning. So the thing is, both contribute to the same problems and both affect the airway quite a bit. So if you're tongue tied, it's really hard to get your tongue up in the roof of the mouth where it needs to go. It might be impossible. And because of that, people with tongue ties are more likely to rest with their lips apart and breathe through their mouth. Tongue thrusts are kind of the opposite. Usually a tongue thrust starts with a kid who can't breathe. So when you're 3, 4, 5 years old, you've got a stuffy nose from allergies, you've got giant tonsils and adenoids, this will cause you to develop a tongue thrust. So really they're very similar in the problems that they lead to. So they just have different root causes, I guess. Okay, so my focus in doing myofunctional therapy is actually the airway. So the tongue plays a major role in the airway. If the tongue is in the right place, our airway is open. If it's in the wrong place, the tongue impinges on the airway. And I'm going through this, pretty broad terms, but we actually do have a lot of research talking about kids with tongue ties being more likely to develop sleep apnea, and kids who breathe through their mouth being more likely to develop sleep apnea. So, and this isn't just when they're kids. We know that the adults who were mouth breathing kids or tongue tied kids, these kids are very likely to grow into adults with sleep apnea. So I'm kind of one of those people. I think we have to not look at sleep apnea as something that old, overweight men get. You can be a young, thin person, and you can still have a high risk for sleep apnea based on your tongue and the size of your airway. So, I think for me, if I didn't correct my issues, I would be on my way to having upper airway resistance or, potentially obstructive sleep apnea. But I've changed my breathing, I've changed my tongue posture, I've changed so many things with my mouth that I think, I've basically prevented myself from going down that road. So that is really, really big. And talking about the role of the tongue, I think it's missed a lot. I think we're focused on, I was Googling this just to be able to share it, but if you search what causes sleep apnea, it's weight, neck size, and people who have deviated septums and lots of allergies. So, we kind of have like the tip of the iceberg that we're connecting to this stuff, but really the problem is twofold, because if you have your tongue in the wrong place, yes, it obstructs your airway, or it has potential. But the other problem that we're not really taking into account is that craniofacial development and jaw development and arch development in kids who breathe through their mouth and in kids who are tongue tied. So this changes the way the jaws grow and the face grows. And because of that, the structure is compromised. So now you not only have your tongue in the wrong place, but you've got underdeveloped jaws and narrow arches and a small mouth. So you have less space for your tongue inside of your mouth. So I hope that concept makes sense. It's kind of like we're trying to get to the root cause of why do people have these airway issues like sleep apnea, upper airway resistance, even snoring is a part of this discussion. So these are all just different progressions of the same problem.